It being 5:31, should have all the meeting started. Yeah, going. All right. Even before we start, I'd like to bring up that this will be a chance for a great new beginning. Things can start with an clean slate. We wish Michelle, who I think most of you know, Michelle Kinnaman, who's been our reference librarian, has agreed to be the interim library director. So everything's getting funneled to her, and she is really having to get the ground running because Santa's last day was yesterday. So we're going to understand that I think it's going to be superbly done, but there's a way for things to be better around here. And I hope they will take advantage of that opportunity. Melanie, would you rather sit here? Or whatever you like.
Okay.
We're just glad you're here.
Thank you. I'll sit here for now if I get lost off.
Okay, having left part of my things at home, let's go next to comments from the public. Am I right over there?
Yeah, I'm sorry about the website. It's not connecting. We have a whole separate web Wi-Fi in this room, and it's not connecting to Wi-Fi.
I mean, that's I can give I copied most of it. So, would anyone care to stand, give your name and address, and make a comment? And as usual, but in our new beginnings, you've got 5 minutes per speaker, 15 minutes per topic, and an opportunity to speak once. So if we could follow those, that would be good. Diane?
Since we're not able to see the agenda, could you read through it quickly? I wasn't able to be on.
Oh, okay. Call to order. We're going to do public input. We're going to go over the meetings from the April 26th meeting, which I think everybody already has done, and then a big director's report, library statistics, expense and revenue ledger, Oregon Library Association conference, attending a Parks and Recreation meeting, in particular the skateboard rack summer reading program that may be here before the sun is here. Chapter 2 book sales, the Dahlia sale, and that the bylaws are on the web. Old business, budget, strategic plan, Kindle Redux, new business, and its resignation, reboot camp for staff June 1st, parking issues that I'd like to bring up, and flag. Diana, be sure to tell me when I get to parking issues that I don't forget flag. Okay, I want to bring up about a flag. Staffing, and then trustees and directors' comments, and then we adjourn for another month. So let me give this back to Michelle. Public read the minutes. Have you read the minutes? Okay. Is there a move to adopt them?
I shall move.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. And now, Michelle, whatever you'd like to do.
Okay.
Oh, were there any other comments? Oh, okay. I thought nobody raised their hand. I didn't know what was happening. Sir, stand and give your name and address. And
Hi, my name is Peter Hamer. I live at 33550 Southeast Copeland Road, about a mile up the road from here. Before I begin my prepared remarks, I just want to say something that's just on my mind. I'm sure that everybody in this room is here because they love the library. And in the past few months, there's been an awful lot of hoo-ha between the library board, and the library foundation, which is now, I guess, renamed itself. I think there's been a lot of misunderstandings, hurt feelings, perhaps some totally wrong ideas, perhaps some totally wonderful ideas that couldn't be seen because we all have preconceptions. And I just would like to urge everyone concerned to do what it takes to get past this, to work together to the betterment of everybody concerned.
Sounds good.
Now for my prepared remarks. A few years ago, in conversation with the librarian, I was told the library would purchase a video projector for the use of patrons. I recently checked on the availability of the projector and was informed the library did have one and that it should be all right for me to use it. I stopped by a couple of days before my event to make sure the projector was available and to see if there were special instructions on how to use it. I was told by, I have written the current librarian, but I now have to say the past librarian, Estacada, that the library has a projector, but it's an expensive piece of equipment. After some more discussion, Anna said it should be okay, but then Sarah Hibbert said it's against our policy. If they'd let me use it, they'd have to let everybody use it. Anna agreed with her and said, I'm sorry, it's against our policy. She said she couldn't even ask me to leave a deposit because of a city ordinance requiring a public vote for any increase in fees. There are several questions that I would like answered. First one is, what exactly is the policy regarding public use of the publicly owned video projector at the public library? My second question is, how is a returnable deposit a fee? And my third question is, with a little preface to it, the library district completely surrounds the city and the lion's share of the library funding comes from the district and not the city. What does a city ordinance regarding voting in new fees have to do with the library district? Free public libraries are a cornerstone of democracy. In the 21st century, libraries should be expected to deliver 21st century service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we're going to have to address that. Lynn, Mrs. Cameron.
My name is Lynn Cameron. It's spelled Lynne Kamerman. Just noticed it was spelled wrong last time. And I live at 21600 Southeast Coop Road. And I'm here to talk about library bylaws. There's still a couple of bylaws that aren't being followed by the library board, and one is in section E, number 3. The bylaws say that the secretary shall keep a true and accurate record of the board's actions, shall issue notices of all meetings, and shall perform such other duties as regularly associated with that office. The library director shall serve as the secretary of the board. So this might be a good time for the library director to be the secretary. And the second one is in section H, point number 4. It says that the board shall prepare and submit to the city manager an annual budget request. And so as we're closing this fiscal year, it might also be good for the library board to, in the next fiscal year, to actually do that. And these are from the 2009, April 27th, 2009 bylaws. And I think also what Peter mentioned about the library district being a lot larger than the city of Estacada, that's one of my concerns, is that there seems to be an increased effort to have the library be in compliance or be lumped in a little bit more with the city. And I think that needs to be really thought out, because people that live in the library district won't have very much ability to have impact if their representatives are the city council and the city manager that we don't have any way to vote for, or really we can communicate, but they really don't have much impact if they don't do anything we say, because we can't vote for them. So I would like that to be in your awareness as you're thinking about your duties as the library board and what your authorities are and what your responsibilities are. Thank you.
Melanie, did you bring this gentleman's concern about the 3% limitation
to the city manager. He has some, fine points that were in the city, but kind of not in the city. But that 3% ruling was passed by a slim majority vote, I believe, in Estacada. So how can it apply to us on special things like this?
We can research that
Would-
and bring
right.
it report back to you.
Okay, and then we will report to you, because it seems that that's something that can be checked out, and you're financially responsible for it, then we should be able to move from that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Melanie will talk to the city manager, and we'll go from there as soon as possible. Are there any more? Greg?
Greg Johnson, 30095 Southeast Cemetery Road. I can't remember, I faxed over my proposals the other day. Did all the board members get a copy of that, do you know?
No, I didn't.
Okay, we talked about it in the strategic plan.
All right.
Okay, I've got enough copies for you guys. Some of them do have budget implications.
Right.
And sorry I wasn't able to make it to the budget meeting. And some of them we talked about at the strategic planning committee, and the library's already in the process of implementing one of them, which is number 2, which is the library's going to set up a database of all the materials that are either thrown away, donated, or sold, which they are in the process. Apparently, they have a database now to do that, which is really good.
This is it.
Okay. Yeah, my information was it's still an informal system at this point. So I like this. I was somewhat amazed that we didn't have a tracking system in place to track all the books and materials and stuff that went to the Book Nook. You would think that there would be some way to track all that stuff. Well, apparently there wasn't. So I was kind of amazed at that. The other thing I'd like to see happen is that there be a yearly inventory of the stock of the library. Probably would take a couple days to shut the library down and get a bunch of volunteers together and basically inventory the entire library and basically figure out what we have and what we don't have. And then maybe periodically during the year, maybe take a section at a time to kind of update it. So if you're going to do it again in a year, you wouldn't necessarily have to do the whole thing if you're kind of taking it a section at a time. My wife and I were listening to OPB yesterday, and one of the things, they were interviewing a former heroin addict, and one of the things he did to help pay for his habit was to steal textbooks from Portland State University Library. So I think we need to have some sort of system at some point to track things that go in and out of here, whether it's electronic, magnetic, whatever it is. That would be obviously a budget item to be able to purchase a system like that. But I think that also might not be a bad idea, is to have a way to make sure if somebody walks out with a backpack full of our stuff, the alarm's going to go off. Or have a way to track that through the computer, that kind of thing. So, let's see if we're going to something else. Yeah, and the city does do a the county library district is currently being audited yearly along with the city budget through Emerald CPA company out of Eugene. That was another question I had, was in regards to a yearly audit, and apparently there is a yearly audit that's done. That's what I heard.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I actually got this to work.
Oh, okay,
Wow.
okay.
What happened?
That's pretty much it at this point. I got something else I want to talk to you about. I don't want to take up too much time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And these are things we looked at in the strategic plan, and we're going to address. I had no idea either that we didn't have a tracking system for where materials went or when they came in. And then we realized that that would probably be a very good thing to have. We'd love to have another system that would let us know if somebody's going out the door with materials. But as we know, they can do it wherever there's a will. There's somebody who has more time to figure out how to do something wrong.
Right.
and some of them are pretty good at it. So this is a matter that we absolutely will be addressed. And thank you for bringing it up, and we'll discuss it at our next strategic plan meeting too. I thank you. And did you wish to speak?
I'm Gina Heiger, 29707 Southeast Farmstead Road. I'm doing this library as the crown jewel of our community, and we've been out of town for 4 months and just got back and heard all the stuff that's going on, and I would recommend mediation if there's still some on.
Can you speak up?
I would recommend mediation if there's still some unresolved things going on. I don't know, but it was sad to hear of all this in our community. And I'd also recommend compensating Michelle adequately if she's going to be taking 2 jobs besides the one. So I don't know who's in charge of that, but I would vote for that.
Okay, yes, because she's going to have a whale of a lot to do to getting down the finer points of the library director and being the reference librarian and the summer reading program. And I know it's illegal to vet in Oregon, but I wonder if we have one of those things that say, okay, how many days can she last before she's totally exhausted?
And we don't want to burn her out.
No, that would not be a good thing at all. Thank you for bringing that up. I know that Melanie's written that down. She is our secretary, so that we can tune in fully to what's going on, and she just can be there and just write it down. So that'll be good. And now, Michelle, for your very first interim library director report.
Okay, well, I had a really major crash course on this yesterday. I mean, really, we're talking less than an hour. So the board has copies of the monthly report currently, and if you look down the list of annual change, you'll see it's mostly minus, 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 minus. I don't like seeing that. I'd like to see, well, we do have an 11% increase in registered patrons. But I think going forward and just kind of coming up with a plan on how to move the library in a positive direction, that we will address all these issues in terms of our staff and our servicing levels and our outreach levels, and get these numbers up. It's something to really aspire to, and we're going to be meeting as a staff next Friday, I hope. I'll tell you about that later. And after that, then I want to come up with a plan that we're going to use to move forward as a group. And it should address these things. The annual stats, they're there for you. Sorry, I'm not sure, what kind of information you're looking for there. In addition, pretty straightforward, but I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
What is that in red? So the check-ins have really dropped?
Yeah, I did contact the person who's in charge of these statistics today, and they were not available to me to answer that question. But it was such a large drop, as you can see, from March 12, it's March of this year. The amount of check-ins went from 26,000 to 9,347. So we're wondering if there's some kind of glitch in either their system or ours in tracking this. So it's a number that I need to fill in, and I need to get more information about it.
Yeah,
Especially,
hope it's wrong.
I do hope it's wrong. If it's something in the software, then that's going to have to be addressed. Definitely. Are there any other questions about the monthly report?
So, but the other things that are down, any feedback on why you think those have dropped this last month?
We have seen a little bit of a decrease in traffic in the library in terms of just things on the shelf. I don't know, I mean, people's lives are really busy. That's the only thing I can think of, and it's great that there's a lot to choose from to give your attention to, but we want people to give more attention to the library and the things that we have, because we really believe in what we do and what we offer.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you know, and the weather is very different from last year, I suppose.
We've had a couple of really nice days and nice weekends, maybe 5 or 6 worth, but these are numbers that are just, you know, they seem wrong because across the board in these earlier months, they're just not the same. They're so drastic that they're not, they seem wrong.
Yeah, it just doesn't look
They
right.
seem wrong, yeah.
And we can address some of these in the community survey. We're going to do through the strategic plan and see why some of these might be, but it would be fine if you could check that out beforehand.
So to go on to the expense ledger,
I have a question. The total registered patrons have dropped by 1,000, so their cards expire if they don't use them after a certain amount of time, or how do you?
Yes.
3 years? Okay, 3 years.
After 3 years.
So
If you don't use
that's-
your card.
That's probably why they have dropped. I mean, they could move out and we'd never know it until 2 years. Okay.
Again, that's something that more community outreach and more education on what we do here could really bring those numbers up. And we want everybody to have a library card.
And actually use it, not just have one.
And the other thing, the items have really dropped from, that total items added is really way down. And that's from all of those, the audio and that doesn't include books, or does?
Yeah, I think that's another number. Again, I didn't put this report together, but it just seems wrong. I called George today at Network to see if he could shed some light on it. He's not really the person that does that, so. Try to get the numbers up or get more accurate numbers for the next meeting.
Okay, so maybe they're all wrong.
I hope they're wrong. It's not good at all.
And we pretty much need to spend our money by June 30th. Is that it?
Oh, no problem with that.
Yes, there's no problem. But we need to have it.
Yeah.
You know, to bring them up to where we want them to be.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you know if the schools have been contacted and the children offered library cards for the summer?
Not this year.
Okay.
No. And actually, I found out today that we are not allowed to send summer reading flyers home with students anymore. I had contacted the superintendent's office about coming to the schools and dropping off flyers for classrooms. That's what Jenny did last year. And so we were told that we are not allowed to send them home in backpacks at the elementary school, that we can drop flyers off, but it's up to the students to take them home. There's no rule that they can force the kids to take these home. So I'm making an assumption that may be what happens with the library card applications too. Maybe not, but need to look into that some more. It's just another one of those things that, you know, Jenny was always doing that. Sure. And
So could you visit the classrooms and hand them out if the students requested?
And if they want one, you know, we can leave it with them, but we can't force them to take it home. You know, they have a thing where the superintendent reviewed the actual flyer, which I can show you later, and he approved the flyer, but you can't give it to them and say you have to take this home to your parents. It's if they want to take it, then they will take it.
You could stand there as they release school and
Can't hand them out.
you can hand them out.
No. They can take
This
them.
change.
Oh,
Yeah, this is recent.
I don't know, I spoke with the secretary to the superintendent, and it's just not on, so if anyone has any contacts in the school, you might want to say, look, this is really important. This is keeping your kids with books in their hand all summer, so. But we'll try something else to get it going, but yeah. Did you answer your question?
And you advertise in the paper as well, right?
Yes,
So
it is in,
so it's out there.
there is a new visitor's guide that came out, I think, in this past week's paper, and it is listed in there. It's on the website. We have a teen summer reading flyer that's coming up that will be on the website and distributed. And then when we do summer reading signups, it's going to be available then. But I can talk about that coming up.
Okay.
A little bit more, answer some more questions. Yeah. To go on to the expense and revenue ledger, this is another thing that I truly need Denise to take me through. And Denise is being on vacation this week. I think we're doing fine. Just looking through on our materials budget, especially collection development, we've only spent 56.77% of that budget. And a lot of money to spend. But we can carry it over, but we do have a lot more we can spend.
Good, let's spend it. It's a very
Actually, I
diverse
just bought
community.
I just bought 40 fiction books. We got 40 fiction books in, and out of those 40, only 8 stayed in our library. Everything else went out on holds. And I also ordered about 30 nonfiction books, and out of those, Joanne had told me maybe less than half stayed in our library. So things really circulate, and since we're part of the consortium, that is our agreement, is that things we get are fair game for other libraries, and we do borrow from other libraries as well. So it's all sharing, but it is, I would like to see more of our books stay here.
We are a net lender.
Right.
We loan more out than we get in. But there's always the Lucky Day books.
The Lucky Day books we try. That means buying 2 copies of the bestsellers so we can keep one in and keep, circulate the rest. I'll try to answer some questions about this, but again, bear with me. I'm learning a lot of stuff this week.
I expect it would take a while. There's
Just in the area of collection development, I know bestsellers are very popular, but they're also short-term purchases in a way from my understanding, just because the popularity wears off and then the book becomes obsolete more rapidly than some other types of books. So one, I would like to make sure that we are spending our full budget amount for collection development. My hope is over the long haul that we get the contingency fund to the point where we can have consistent purchasing year-round rather than have to just, and this isn't a criticism of anybody, this is the nature of the way the funding stream comes to us, but the hope is, my hope is to get the contingency fund to the point where we can have consistent spending for all library needs through 12 months of the year rather than have to hold back and then spend it all in a short amount of time. But I'd also like to see more, not necessarily just the most bestsellers and popular books in that regard purchased, but also some books that have more long-term value. But that's in all areas. It's kind of being broad there, but that's just my own personal feelings on it. But and also, I just like to say that you did a great job on the agenda for tonight. It was clear and concise, and actually had a number of items listed on it for topics, and that was just great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I hope I can keep that up.
Well, I think you're doing a fine job.
Thanks, Craig. Would you like me to move on to the next item?
Yep. Attending the Parks and Rec meeting.
I got the Oregon Library Association next.
You have
Okay.
whatever you would like.
Okay, so I was very happy to go to the Oregon Library Association conference, and it was actually the night of the last board meeting. So I missed that. It's great to always speak with other librarians and directors. It's just so important to get out of your own world and see what everybody else does. And I really, really enjoyed that. I went to, well, the best things I went to were Branding Your Library, which was given by Bend Public Library, and they had a really intense rebranding effort for that library. It was just amazing what they did.
What does that mean?
Well, branding means, it's kind of like when you look at the Nike swoosh, for instance, and you don't see the word Nike, but you always see that swoosh, and so you know what that is. Or if you see the Apple logo, you always know what that is. So branding is about establishing an identity for your library through your printed materials and logos, and just, you know, it's kind of like sticking our little logo on our flyers. Like there's always going to be, it's always going to have this, and this kind of just ended up being our logo by default, but it's really cute, and I think we've used it enough that it's really identifiable with us. But branding also means, like, for instance, Bend had slogans that they used that whenever they had something posted around the library, you would identify that as something that came from the Bend Issues Public Library. So mostly the best thing I got out of that was they did a film where they went around to their community and they just interviewed people. They had 5 questions. They said, things like, what do you like best about your library? What do you not like about your library? What do you want to see at your library? And 2 more that I can't. And then they put together the film and showed it to everybody, and it was really amazing the kind of responses they got, and they used that to kind of revamp what they were doing in their library, let them know what their community was looking for out of their library, and they said it helped everything they did. And I also went to the strategic planning session called Strategic Planning on Shoestring, given by Diane Satchwell, and she's director of West Lynn Public Library here. She was going to attend our last strategic plan meeting, but she was ill, so she didn't make it. She will be back. We're not meeting next week, but we'll meet the week after. She's going to talk to us then. I also went to a session about ebooks and what other libraries in Oregon were doing to inform their patrons about using the ebook reader and Library to Go. And probably the best thing I did that I really enjoyed was just visiting their public library. And I came back with a bag just stuffed full of every handout and flyer they have. Everything from, they have a printed newsletter that goes out to bibliographies that you can pick up in each department, like lists of kids' books, adults' books, and talk to their staff. And it was just really eye-opening and very interesting, and very happy I went. I hope it'll benefit us in the library. I'm sure it will. Does anyone have any questions? And I'll go on to the next one. Okay. I also attended, I'm trying to do a lot more things to make sure the community knows who I am. I think it's super important that, you know, everybody knows they can come to me at the library and tell me their problems. Well, you know, their library-related problems, and, you know, you go to, I don't want to be a psychiatrist, but you know what I mean. So I went to the Parks and Recreation meeting for a specific reason. A couple of our staff, actually a few months ago, realized the need for us to come up with a skateboard rack. We've got the skateboard park opening up next door. It's very popular, and we've long had students coming over here with their boards, and we don't really have a good place to put those. All we have are the cubbies, and they're not lockable. And so a couple of our staff had done some research to find locking skateboard holders. They are really expensive. We came up with one that was, it holds 5, and it's $350, so it's really spendy. So I was hoping to kind of interact with the Parks and Recreation group to see if maybe they were planning on having any racks, or if they knew somebody that could help us build them, or, I mean, I don't skate, and I don't think anyone on our staff skates, so we really don't have a good idea of what do we need, what's adequate for the people that are, you know, who may be using that. So we did have a discussion, and one of their group said that they would try to find somebody who might be able to build one, or else at least fill us in on what kind of thing we should buy if we happen to be able to buy it. And it's mostly just about being a good neighbor. We really under no obligation to do this, but since we do have a bike rack and we're next door, I do think it's a good idea, and a lot of our staff would like to see that. Unfortunately, someone's board got stolen a couple of weeks ago, and we don't want to see that at all.
You can easily put $350 in one of those skateboards.
Yes.
So I can see what you mean. Yeah. I wonder about having something where the kids can put a quarter in and it opens up and they can put their board in.
I haven't seen any, but there must be something. They did discuss in their group about possibly having one at the park itself. But they hadn't really decided because, you know, they have their funding issues as well. So it's one of those issues of money, as usual. So that was left with, let's keep talking and see if we can find somebody that can solve the problem. Another issue that we discussed and that Diana Turk had approached me about was the possibility of the library checking out the volleyballs and horseshoe sets for people that are using the park next door. I thought it was a good idea, but I did let her know, her and Skip, whose name, I can't think of his last name, Skip. Anyway, Skip, who is the head of their group. There's a couple of issues, you know, what happens if we close and you still have the volleyballs and things like that. So,
Or it's damaged.
or it's damaged.
Or stolen.
There's a lot of issues. So they felt that we should just make people check it out on a library card. And that way, if you lose it or something happens, it is city property anyway, so kind of the same thing would happen as would happen if you lose a book or any of our materials. So that's kind of an ongoing conversation because they haven't purchased things yet, I don't think. But when they do, again, I think it's just something we could do to be a good neighbor. And we do have a spot for it. It's kind of in one of our tubs, storage area, but so we're probably going to end up doing that if we iron out the details. Any questions? The next thing is summer reading. This is a really, really huge deal. I might be able to get the flyer up. I do miss having Jenny this year because she got to go out to all the schools and really, really worked it. But fortunately, she was able to put the program together before she left. Let's see. Well, while I'm hunting for it, I can just tell you that we are going to have kids, teens, and adult summer reading. We had adult summer reading the first year I was here, and then we didn't have it last year.
What is the projected starting date for that?
That is June 13th. Please disregard that it says Thursday. I've already asked Rochelle to change that. It's actually on a Wednesday. But all of our flyers that were printed do have the correct day on it. So Dragon Theater Puppets, Wednesday, June 13th. And that's at night. We did have a lot of people expressing they'd like to have some more evening programs. So we have 2 or 3 of those, and then the Reptile Man, which is just insanely popular. If you come and just put your head in here, it's wall to wall. The Alphabeticians, that's another one. I think they're like singing about, it's learning. Bassin Library, Jenny set up a really great partnership with the Ivor State Park Rangers, and these are free programs. We have 3 programs from that group that are absolutely free. Everybody else gets paid. You see Presto Magician, know about him. All of these people that charge, they're anywhere from $200 to sometimes $450. They're not cheap. But the kids love it, and it really brings them in the library. And usually when they're done with the program, they'll just come in the library and hunt for books and get their log stamped. when Anna and I went over to the Sunnyside Library for their grand opening, we ran into this guy tying balloons. And he was just standing up tying balloons for 2 hours. So I told him I want to hire him, so he's going to come here and do that.
Could we tie in applications for library cards to, like, particularly, I know the Reptile Man is, we had him at our company picnic one year, and it was just, you know, the kids were spellbound, but it seems like it might be an easy tie-in there with, you know, having the applications available for people, or at least prominently out there where we might be able to get a few new applications that way.
And we usually introduce the person as well, so it'd be a great time just to say, hey, if you don't have your library card, we're ready to give you one right now. And the key to that too is they need to be with their parent.
Right.
So as long as they're with their parent who can sign for them and they can sign their name, they can get a card. So
Great.
yeah, I'm sure we could do that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So that's that. And Thea's going to work with our teams. I should say Lori Bailey, who's on our staff, is stepped up to do all the story times, and she's going to be running a lot of these shows. Although I do work these days, so I'll be there for that. Thea has stepped up to do the teams. She's going to be working on some teen programs, and we have discussed some of the programs. There's a couple of things we'd love to have some adult chaperones for, but I think she's going to handle that. And the adult summer reading is pretty simple. It's just, you know, come in and get a raffle ticket. But again, this will be publicized. And it's really challenging squeezing it all in the schedule, but this is the next big thing for me, so I will be doing that. So next up, I forgot what I had, Karen.
Chapter 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So our Chapter 2 book sale is going on. It's across from the DVDs in the library, and this is made up of donations and withdrawals from the collection. And it's been going really well. Since the Dahlia sale has been on, it's been slightly off, but it's been well received, and it's good to know that we can get, you know, all the money and use it just kind of right away. We have a specific budget line set up for that. The Dahlia sale is just phenomenal. I encourage everybody in here to please tell your friends. We have thousands of bulbs. I don't know how we're going to get rid of all of them, but we have just thousands. And this is the prime planting season right now. And this is a primary fundraiser for us. It's really big. The generosity of Bob Patterson and Portland Dahlia Society. I mean, there's thousands there. We need them to go. Because when summer reading starts, we have to clean out all those tables, and we can't have it there, so we've got like 2 weeks. So please tell your friends and neighbors to come buy some dahlias.
Those are $1.50 for each.
$1.50 for each, and 15. And if there's 3 together, we'll sell it for 1. Yeah. But and then 15 tubers for $50.
So are the book sales, it was my understanding that was going to be all volunteers, so it's all volunteers doing everything to do with the book sales, selling them, taking the money, and...
So far, Craig, it's our staff that's doing that. Yeah, because we just have it in one corner of the library right now. It's just in the library. So it's in the library on some shelves. And so when somebody wants to buy something, they just bring it up and our staff brings it up. But Joanne, who has been doing this for just years on end, she takes care of that. That's been part of her job for a long time. To process the books when they come in and to kind of weed them out. Here's what goes on the shelf and here's what doesn't. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I guess I'm curious as to then the expense to the library in relation to the revenue that's generated, because it seems it's going to be it'll look like more than it is if we are paying people to deal with them as opposed to all volunteers, which is what we were led to believe it would happen.
Well, so it's been part of Joanne's job for years on end. I mean, she did that when we were still giving books to the Book Nook. Whenever something comes in, it goes to Joanne first, And then she decides what we add to the collection and what we're gonna sell and what's too bad of shape and we recycle. So that's really always been her job. It's in her job description. So really the only people that are working on it are Joanne and the CERC staff who are ringing it up at the moment. And Karen has been helping, but really it hasn't involved any extra money.
And I don't want to touch the money, so I'm happy to have them.
It really
go up
hasn't,
and
it
take
really hasn't, there's nothing extra.
So there's-
Is that money kept separate from the fines? Can you
It's
tell
on a
us?
different budget line, yeah.
And you can tell us how much it brings in,
Yeah.
and as well as the day.
We have a separate line for it on the daily deposit.
Okay,
Yeah, we do. So we'll go, yeah, just definitely keeping track of that.
good.
Absolutely. Plus, we count every donation that comes in. We started to talk about this earlier, but we keep track of every donation that comes in. If we add it to the collection, that's noted. If we put it on the sale shelf, that's noted. If it's in too bad of shape and it's discarded, that's noted as well. So we're
Is
keeping
there-
track of everything.
Is there a cost associated with disposing of the unusable books?
No, because so far we put them in the free box and they get picked up.
Good.
They get picked up. Same with magazines. Magazines were free at the book nook, they're free here, we stick them in a box. And that's also what Lori Ellicott does when she rotates off the magazines off the shelf. She will put those out for people to get.
We've had a number of donations, including a bunch from Janet of the VHS tapes. And yes, there are people who still have VHS players. I do, but those tend to be in, Janet wrote in an incredible number of Walt Disney VHS things. And I think that would go pretty fast to anyone who has, you know, young children. Well, actually, I like a lot of them. And at 50 cents, it's a good money maker, and it's affordable for people to buy, especially if it's one of those that they would like to keep for several years. So that's been good.
Well, are there any questions about any of those things? Okay, well, I did want to mention that the bylaws are now on the web, and they're here. I can tell you that they're underneath the About Us tab. So I'll need to go back to up here. So it's right under the library board, and it's a PDF, so it just opens right up. And Rochelle Shabahar did this, and she set it up so you should be able to click on each appendix, and it will take you to the appropriate page. So I know that Melena had wanted that for a little while, and Rochelle made it happen. I think that's all I have to say. If there's any questions.
Some questions for Michelle?
There's a lot happening. It's really an exciting time, and I'd love for us to just focus on, let's make the library great. That's really all that matters to me.
I visited the shelf today and bought a book, and I really enjoyed the looking. We've got quite an array of books.
Yeah, we do. We get some amazing donations, and the number of donations that end up in the collection is actually quite large. And it's new copies of things that, yeah, we're really fortunate.
We got things that we didn't have on our shelves, so I put them out there on our
So
shelves.
where would people go to make a donation to the library? Just to the front desk?
Yes. Yeah, we ring it up on a separate key, and it's tallied that way, and there's an envelope. I shouldn't be saying these things. It's there. We put it in a spot that nobody can get to.
Okay, and they can get a receipt too?
Yes, they can definitely. This is tax deductible, and I believe there's a matching grant out there. Do you know about that?
No, I
Matching.
don't, but that sounds good.
It's to do with Oregon Arts. I'm sorry, I can't recall what that is.
I was noticing Alphabet Card being ordered by the author.
Yeah. We're
I
trying to
tried,
yeah,
but
we're trying, but no.
they get moved around a lot because so many people are looking through them. I do have them separated between fiction and nonfiction. And other than that, though, if they're there for a little while and haven't sold, you do just what grocery stores do. And you put them in a different place. And all of a sudden, it's like it's a brand new, because it's here instead of there. Otherwise, we sort of try to alphabetize them, but that's on my time for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if someone really wants a book and they really love looking at used stuff, they're just gonna go through it all. And there's not so many that you can't do that. It's a really manageable number.
Any other questions at this point of Michelle? I'm sure there'll be more, but let's go to old business. We have yet to pass a budget. And I think the city council would like to meet and have our opinions on the matter. What else do you think we need to discuss in relationship to the budget that we maybe haven't already?
Well, I have a handout here for, I've constructed an alternate budget that is based strictly on the revenue we will receive and not on deficit spending. And you know, as I think everybody here knows, I've been opposed to saving money from one year so that we can spend it the next. I think that with the reduction in revenue that we're seeing from the county, it is time to craft a budget that is based on the revenue that we will receive, not on what we wish it could be. So, as such, I have a copy. This is an alternate budget that would basically be based on the funding that we will receive, and you each get one. And that's a copy of the proposed budget.
Okay, so there's two.
Yeah, this is the alternate, and there's a revenue page and an expenditure page, and yeah, there's, and you know, I'm not asking that anything more than we take a look at this. You know, I think it's a little late in the game to come up with a brand new budget with, you know, what do we have, about 2 days left till the city would like to see it. There's a couple of copies for the record. But going forward, it would be my wish that the board crafts a budget in cooperation with the city manager and with the library director, and that we all work on this in a collaborative fashion and with Denise, the finance director. This is the way it was done in the past, and when Beth McKinnon was the librarian, and it seemed to work really well. She was able to set aside money almost every year so that when we went to build this new library, she had $100,000 saved from a very minuscule budget. The problem I have with the spending that has gone on is that it seems like we spend everything that we've got and then some. And I would just like to see us set targets that are a little bit lower than the revenue that we receive, so that there is a rainy day fund. We're already starting to see the very chairs we're sitting on in this room. They're going to need to be replaced soon, and there's no savings for that. There's no savings for the furniture in the library outright. These are things that, although they don't seem immediate, we have a fairly brand new building here, they will come about in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So this is just to give the board the idea that we can craft a budget that keeps us within our limits. So, that's all I've got.
I just have one question. Under personnel services, that would appear that you are dropping an MLS person, a library records person, or a director.
well, we can't drop a director, and I've just, if you look across the line at, under the alternate budget for the full-time salaries, it's at $114,000, and this is just a proposal. If you go back then and you look at last year, it was $158,500. 2011 it was $117,000. 2010 it was $105,000, and 2009 it was $73,700. So this can be done. This library can be run without 3 full-time staff positions. I'm not saying which full-time staff position needs to be modified or eliminated. I'm just saying that we need to get back to where we're living within our means, and this is what I am putting forward as a proposed budget. Nothing more, certainly nothing less. And I'm not even asking that this be passed tonight at all. I'm just asking that we consider this for the future. I think we all also understand that with Anna leaving and some of the changes that are going down the pike right now, that the budget that we have in front of us that was crafted by Anna is not particularly valid at this point either. But we need to get a budget out there, and as everybody, as Denise has said all along, is, well, the budget's not set in stone and it can be modified through the course of the year. So my own personal feeling is to go ahead and move forward, pass a budget so that we can get it to the city council and to the city budget committee and the city council, and get that, get this, I don't want to be holding up the city budget anymore, but at the same time, I guess I'm using this as an opportunity to say that we need to look at this and work on this through the course of the year, so that when we come to budget time next year, that we're not left with, a hurry up deal. And I would like it to be a collaborative approach instead of the last few years. It has been the board has not been involved other than to rubber stamp what's put in front of them.
We discussed that we really need to start way earlier in the year.
Agreed.
And even to review it, just like some of the strategic plan things, to review it on a continual, every so many months, we can go back and look at the figures that we have now and see what the impact has been on those funds. And certainly, you can use this as a template to start with.
Great, thank you.
So, could we have, is there a motion to pass this original budget? And we will be holding the alternate budget. Well, I can't say that in a motion. This is to suggest to move that we pass the current budget as has been proposed. Is there a second? Well, I guess that means that this is tabled, and we will have to have the city go ahead on its own. Please note that.
Well, who moved?
I did.
Move.
Mm-hmm. And there was no second.
Well, I missed the budget meeting thanks to my dog, so I wasn't here. So Denise answered my questions. Were you satisfied? I like seeing this, and we can adjust this according to the new hire or whatever as far as the salaries. And I had a question, the medical insurance you could reduce because of less people with full benefits. Is that what your alternate was? How you managed to reduce the medical insurance?
Yes, that would be the proposal. My proposal is basically to have 2 full-time staff with benefits and
Okay.
With the health insurance is really the major benefit, and it's a costly, it's a big expense that we worked with. We had two people who, in the past, we had Katinka and Beth that they worked 32 hours, but they were still considered full-time, and they received the full medical insurance, and everybody else is considered part-time. And
Well, we can still, I mean, we don't have to spend all the money that is in the budget.
Oh, no.
Okay, so we can
Not
be
at all.
comfortable, so,
Well,
I
and
miss, so, you guys have concern?
There should be a second before we get into much discussion.
Before we discuss it?
We're discussing which budget and how things can be changed if
So-
necessary, but we have to have a second to really be able to discuss
So
it.
if we have a second, we can
Yes.
discuss it.
I-
I will second it.
Discussion then.
I guess what I was gonna say though is with the recent developments of Anna leaving, isn't the budget already, I mean, unfortunately with her leaving, it's being adjusted because we're saving money.
Well, it's just going to be a while before we can get somebody else in here.
Right.
So, and that
And
would be money
hopefully-
that's not being spent at that time because it's not a slow process to select a good employee.
Well, hopefully we don't have to increase to attract a librarian. I mean, you know, that's
I
another
don't know.
question.
Can I say something?
Yes.
How do we rank as far as our salary in comparison to comparable libraries?
We are at the bottom. We're number 2 above Milan. We're the lowest paying library in the system, except for Milan.
The Clackamas system.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are. And, you know, when someone spends time and money to go to library school, as Suzanne has and I have, I mean, it's, when you get out, you need a living wage. That's, you know, it's tough. And plus, we need that in the library. We need that kind of expertise. And if it goes forward like this, we just need to, you know, let the community know what you can expect. And there's going to be a lowering of what happens, or a drastic reshuffling of what happens. I mean, a director job is really big.
I'm concerned that there were no cuts to the part-time staff, it looks like.
Well, we cut hours at
Already
one
cut.
time.
Oh, okay.
And that was my concern, that the
Did they cut hours or did they just reshuffle the hours?
My understanding was they had already cut hours for the part-time.
Okay. Were
But
they
I need
cut?
to reiterate though that pretty much everybody that got their hours cut was able to get additional hours added on, because we don't use on-calls
Right.
anymore. We don't do that. We give hours if someone goes on a vacation. We ask if there anyone that wants to fill in. We had someone out on bereavement leave for 3 weeks. We were able to move those hours around. So, you know, Sarah would have to answer that a little more fully, but we were able to compensate people for, they lost 4 hours. And some people don't want to add more hours. Some people would like to have more hours.
I'm of the opinion that we talked a little bit about having a librarian and a half kind of a thing, so that we could have someone on duty when the library is open that would be, you know, able to handle everything. And I think we all need to remember that the people that the librarians can do the other people's jobs, but you can't always turn around and
Can't
do
mean it at all.
No, no.
Well, we did very well with many what you call non-professional, which is, you know, many of these people have done a fine job for this city and our library for many, many years. I'm not saying they can't do, that they can do everything, but they can do many things. I guess my main objection to the budget as it stands is this, is we knew we were coming up against a wall with budget cuts. And so we went in and we cut hours of service, and we told the public that, sorry, that we have to cut hours of service. And then we come right back with a budget where we're saying, okay, we're bringing everything right back to where it was. And so then we'll have 1 year of that, and we'll burn up the money that we saved this year. It'll all get used up, basically, unless, of course, we, continue to starve collection development and other areas, which we are starving collection development at $40,000 a year. That's starving it.
Oh, wait, I do have a few
And
numbers.
so, at any rate, my objection is that we cut hours, cut service, and then we bring it back, and we have 1 year of it, and then we're going to come around to next year's budget, and unless something drastically changes, we're not getting any more money from the county. And so we're taking the savings that we have achieved over the last 5-6 months, which I'm extremely grateful for. I think they were necessary moves, and they were good moves. But what's not a good move is to yo-yo the public around. Now we're going to open more hours again, and we're going to be open those more hours, and then we're going to come around to next year, and then we're going to cut it again. And this doesn't make sense to me. What makes sense to me is to come up with a budget that says, okay, we're going to live within our means. Now, that's why I'm not saying cut. I'm just saying this is how much we have to spend potentially on full-time salaries. Now, we can this can be worked with, and we need to do so in order to create the library that the public wants, that the patrons want. But to yo-yo it around from 1 year to the next makes absolutely no sense to me. And Anna's repeated statement was that we were that 60 to 70% of a library budget, of the operating budget, is spent on salaries. Okay. And she would say we're at 71%. Well, if you go and look at the pie charts that Denise provided us at the budget workshop, we're going to be at 75% in the next budget year. So that puts us 5 to 15% over where we need to be. And then if we hold those salaries again to when we have even less of a budget the following year for 2013-14, it's going to go even higher. So these aren't like my personal opinions. These are the facts and numbers as they stand, and I guess I'm looking for solutions and don't feel I'm being heard by the developers of the budget. So,
Craig, in any way, I don't feel like we ought to add the hours back in. I'm concerned that maybe this is part of the reason that the numbers are down. Okay, but by the same token, I'm with you. We've got to live within our means.
And a new director or whatever we do about that.
Yeah.
So we don't need to spend a lot of time on this when we're all up in the air.
right.
I think once we do the survey this summer, it makes sense to me to find out, what do you expect out of the library? I mean, what I've thought all along is that, we've built this incredible library, people in this town and surrounding areas, and people come here from all over to see this library, and it's something that you want to offer incredible service. And I want us to be the best small library in America. There's a story every year about that in the Library Journal. If we could achieve that, it'd be just utterly fantastic. But if we don't have the money, I know there are things that have to be done. But I think a lot of our objections were that people weren't valuing our positions just as librarians, because librarians do bring a lot to a library, and I think that a lot of the upset was because you think you don't need us. Well, what if we're not here? Because it is a very big job. Being a director is one thing, and being a librarian is another, because as a director, I will be going to all kinds of meetings. I'll be meeting people in the public all the time. I can't sit at the reference desk all the time, and then all I have is Sarah, who's done a great job. But then again, you know, I'm older than she is, I've done more stuff. And I just have more life experience where I know that when I come in, when people come in and ask me things, I can take care of their needs and answer their questions. So really, it's just, it's not that, okay, I don't think that I don't want to live under any illusions about money. But I think that given the expectations and the love for this library by the public, it just seems a shame to really kind of not be as good as we can be. But if we go through the budget process and it's just absolutely no way in the world to make 2 full-timers work, you know, we'll have to try some alternatives. But again, I think that part of the upset was just people thinking we're expendable. And I'll do everything I can to show you that we're not expendable, and just the kind of value that we bring to the community. And our whole staff wants to step up and do this as well. I mean, everybody really wants to do a good job, but we want to be valued.
I think, I hope there was never any misconception on that part. The librarians are essential to the library.
I think there was, Craig. Yeah, there was.
Well,
I think so.
and, okay.
I just got from your comments that you always felt that way. That you don't think we need to, even though we've had 2.
But if you have another opinion, please let me know, because I would love to hear it.
Well, you know, what you can afford and what is, you know, and what you want and what you can afford oftentimes aren't the same thing, you know. But as far as having value for librarians, I've always had high value for librarians, you know. My mother-in-law was a librarian. I have multiple educators in my family. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the position, but the respect has to run both ways too. And there has been the distinct impression on my part that the idea somehow that because you have a degree that that somehow sets you above and beyond, and just you know that nobody else has value, then yeah, I do take exception with that, because we have many creative, valuable people in our library community that don't necessarily have an MLS, but can make tremendous contributions to this library.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree, and I think we always have.
And I didn't think of you as putting down librarians, because most organizations have one boss, one head, and then they organize everybody underneath them. And so, you know, like a superintendent of school, there's only one. Principals, you know, and sometimes they share. But I think one very effective head librarian should be able to run the whole thing.
We will have to adjust at some point in time, but I just need you to know that they're very distinct jobs. They're 2 jobs. They have different responsibilities that can go in, as long as we, you know, can educate the community of, like, okay, we don't have the money to do this, this, and this. There are other strategies we can try, and I want to learn from other library systems that have had money problems, and try things that will work and just help us keep going. But
we do have the money for 2 full-time positions.
But as director, don't you primarily do planning?
There's a lot of planning and a lot of idea generation, and mostly, you know, you want to just train everybody so they can, you want to train everyone to do their job so they don't really, you know, need you to oversee them, but you're there to oversee them, and it's a guiding, you know, just guiding them towards the way things should be.
So you're directing them, but you're not necessarily here running the library and dealing with patrons, because you're, or whoever is overall boss, and you organize, you train your staff, and then, you know.
Yeah, but you still need someone to answer reference questions. I mean,
but that does that have to be a...
Not necessarily.
I would think your job would be removed from the patrons, really, and planning and organizing a great library.
Well, I think it even, you know, we could talk about this a long time, but I do want to say that I talk to patrons a lot. And I think it's one of the most important things you can do as a library director. You need to talk to people and find out what they want, and I think that may be something that wasn't done before, is just more interaction. So I think I in no way want to sit off in a corner with the door shut. I want to interact a lot more. So it's a big job, it really is. And I know
And I keep saying this, or I keep saying it anyway, the library is a service to the community. Service means people need money. But there's services that we need in so many different areas. And as we were at the strategic plan meeting Tuesday night, I've rewritten some of the plans and objectives, because we're not quite through with that, but we'll be here. I found strategic and service 9 times in that document, that we're a service-driven thing. That we have to meet the service needs of the community. You know, we don't have to have a backhoe or something, we just need books, but we are a service. And people cost money. And there's no better way to have them. People cost money, and then they turn around and use it. Okay. We are a service organization.
Can I call for the question?
All right, we have a voice vote. Then we are talking about this budget as from the previous time now. Okay. Ooh, and I think Melanie left, so.
Yes.
Okay. Then we can do a voice vote, or you can raise your hand. We just don't have anybody to record the vote. I guess I could do it. Okay.
Everything is on tape.
Early.
Karen, Melanie left the tape running. I will make sure Michelle gets it. That'll be
Okay. Arlene, then your vote.
Yes.
Janet?
We're voting for the prior, the
Yes.
one we, yes. Yes.
No.
Yes. Motion carries. This we can put away for a few months, and then it's going to come right back up, because these are difficult issues, and they need to be dealt with. And area where people feel free to discuss, and as we know, you don't have to have 100% agreement on any motion, but you do have to have a majority agreement. But you're going to be addressing these, I suppose, in October again, so keep that information. Strategic plan. Actually, Greg, I don't think, maybe you could tell us. I should have asked you before. I think I was going to have Michelle tell us about the strategic plan, and already she's had a pot full tonight.
Well, unfortunately, I need to go to another meeting, so.
Okay. Well, we are working on things. We've changed a lot of things. We've updated some things. We need in 2 weeks to hear about getting a survey done. We'll probably do that survey and take a break. Compile the survey so that people don't have to work through that. And then finish it up, I hope, at the end of August. Because it's been fun, but there are many, many issues we have to discuss in there about what our vision is. Do we want to go forward? I mean, wheels can move forward and they can just spin. So we need that to be a goal and a direction that we want our library to be in. The Kindle. He brought this up last week, and I was kind of surprised.
Excuse me.
Didn't
I
you?
did not bring it up.
Oh, okay. How did that happen? Huh? Do you know?
Anna brought it up.
Anna brought it up.
Anna brought it up.
Okay, well.
Well, okay.
She brought it up.
I went through it, and 1 month, like she has shown there, we said we were going to discuss it. The next meeting, the staff discussed it again, And then the meeting after that, which was, I believe, January, there was a question concerning her purchasing the Kindle without the board giving.
That's incorrect. Karen, once again,
Well, it's growing late. Can we skip some of the things on the agenda, or is that not allowed?
I think that's fine, we will do that, and then, if this is something we need to discuss, and
Can I just say one thing about it, though?
Yes.
Would that be appropriate? If we never talked about it again, I would be way okay with that, because it's really worked with the public, and it has been purchased, we're using it. You know,
excuse me,
Enough.
once again,
it's-
no, excuse me. This needs to be clarified once again. Pardon me?
You sound very hostile, are you?
Excuse me. I'm not? No, I'm not hostile. I am. Karen, you repeatedly bring these things up and you do not have your facts correct. I just want to straighten out, because I have the disc at home of that meeting. I went and reviewed it after Anna brought it up again. I went and reviewed it after the last meeting. At the meeting in question, my wife Barbara asked if 3 items were going to be brought forward on the agenda. She did not ask whether it was correct to purchase the Kindle or incorrect to purchase the Kindle. That was never the point. She just wanted to know if they would be brought forward on the agenda, because at the time, items would just fall off the agenda, they would be discussed, and then no decision was made, and they would just fall off. So all she was asking is, will these items be brought forward on the agenda? At that point in time, I don't need to go into the rest of the explanation, but that should suffice. But at that point in time, other people brought up that Anna could purchase up to $2,500. Well, that was never my wife's question, intent, anything. Her question was directly about whether things were going to be brought forward on the agenda. That needs to be perfectly clear, because there was never any question brought up about whether they should be purchased or not by my wife. They were brought up by you and Mr. Elliott.
Why don't we make it a point when we have an ongoing discussion then to actually say we're going to bring up an issue again, so that I won't have this confusion, and it will be clear in everybody's mind what we need to bring forward. I wasn't familiar with that term, and you just mean continued, I think. Is that what you meant, continued, or brought forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, Karen, if you go back and look at the agendas, they're blank. From month to month to month, they say old business, new business, adjournment. There isn't anything brought forward on them.
Well, I know.
I mean, there's all kinds of items that were left off, and all of these meetings are on tape. You can go back and view them. I don't want to beat this to death, but I'm tired of, if I seem a little testy, it's because I'm tired of my wife being bludgeoned with something that she had no party of.
Okay,
so,
I have the minutes from November, December,
I
January, and I hope we never talk about it again.
sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, let's go to the next item. Reboot.
And one other thing.
All right.
I don't know if there's anything to say about Anna's resignation, if anyone has any questions, but she has left the building. She's on her way to Seattle and Vancouver, and she will shortly be going to Texas. And that is it.
So, so what is the procedure for, I guess we need to decide whether we're hiring someone else? And if we hire someone, do we want to decide, or do we want to have a committee to pick the director?
Okay, that's
something that's
first
done by
week,
City
yeah.
Hall.
Yeah, that's by the city manager.
The city, that's correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Per the bylaws, but with our recommendation.
Yes.
Yes.
The city manager is who
But is there a procedure we want to see, and do we want people to apply for the position, or do we want to just keep Michelle and as interim
How about
director?
if Michelle would like to be the interim director now, if she would? We have all of these things coming up with the summer reading and the outreach that I think Michelle will be doing a great deal of. And let it go for a while, and then we can bring it up again. We should get the old questions that we ask a library director and of a reference librarian. And it takes several months to get those things out and circulated.
Posted and all kinds of stuff.
I'm sorry, what?
It has to be posted and.
Oh, yeah, it has to be posted and the word gets out and you do things, but it takes several months, and I think we've got enough right now.
We should not rush, and I really like
Yes.
to hire in-house somebody we know. So hopefully there will be applicants that we know.
Where our authority
And
lies
those
is
in the
within the
job.
budget. Our authority lies within the budget, not within the hiring process.
No, but we.
But we are being out, the bylaws say that it is the city manager's, he hires the director and the staff with the board's recommendations, you know, so.
So we need to think about it.
We absolutely
and do
do.
some planning for that.
We do.
And you have accepted, and you are interim. Well, I guess the city manager wanted you to.
Yeah, I'd like to see how it goes. I mean, I've invested a lot of time here, almost 3 years now, and I'm not really looking to move around a lot in my career. If we could do some great things here, I'd like to stay. I mean, I'd like to stay here and see what happens. I think we can be amazing.
I think we can work on to keep this library as a jewel of the community.
I don't want to
It's
work for
where
any other
everybody
kind of
brings-
library. I'm telling you, I don't want to work for a loser library. I want it to be great. I mean, who doesn't want to go to work at a place that's amazing? Really, who doesn't?
And I think we already are amazing in many ways.
Yes, we
so
are. I
we can
don't want to
just
take
only
away from
continue
that.
to grow and become even more amazing.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to come away with that impression.
Oh, no, I
think
didn't get that.
you know, we've been hurt a little bit. If we talk about things and try to get through it and come up with some more ideas, which is kind of what's coming up next, it might be a good segue into the reboot camp.
Right.
Yes, would you like to bring that up?
Yeah, what was really important to me when I found out that Anna was going to leave was that we need to get our staff together and we need to talk about where do we go from here? Like how can we maybe do things better as a staff? How do what's our goal? What's the most important thing for us? So really this is to get everybody together, do some brainstorming, share ideas, and go ahead, go forward, really, that's it. And we want to close the library, which is why another reason I'm telling you this. It's on Friday, June 1st. We're usually shut, we're usually open between 12 and 5. So by having this on Friday, it would be a minimal impact on the community instead of doing it another day when we're open more time. So yeah, we're going to try to do it between 10 and 3 so we can accommodate some of our staff that have to go other places. And yeah, that's what we want to do.
Will this be a mandatory meeting?
It is mandatory. We have some people that have made prior plans, and I understand that, but at this moment, we have only 2 people that are unable to attend, which I think is pretty good.
Has the public been notified that they're on?
Yeah, we're waiting for your approval. So,
Would you feel comfortable about the board also being attending?
I'm not sure what the staff would think. I think this is a really good opportunity for us to just get everything out there, and you know, just maybe it would be a little intimidating, but I'm not sure. I haven't asked everybody. If it's something I could do a little informal poll and get back to you, but
I think it would be nice, because I don't even know the names of most
or if
of
you
them.
just came for a little while,
I
and
would
then we
like
could.
to, I would like to meet
Okay.
the staff. I think
Yeah,
that would be.
I think it's super
But
important.
I certainly don't want to be here during your collegiality.
You don't want 5 hours.
I think,
Yeah.
yes. I mean,
No,
yeah.
that's
I
not.
know one way we could meet the staff all at once I was gonna ask the trustees if they would like to bring lunch in to the library staff on that day. So that doesn't have to be a concern. So if you would like to do that, a couple of us have already agreed to do that.
Thank you.
And we could bring, I guess, bring lunch at 10, say hi, how are you? Have a really good time and leave. Because it's really a staff sort of bonding thing. They don't need us there.
So question, that would be this, a week from tomorrow?
Yeah, June
And
1st.
Are we open on Monday?
We're not.
Memorial Day?
Memorial
So
Day.
you're gonna eliminate 2 days of service in 1 week?
Yeah. Yes.
That there isn't a better day to do it, and then I guess my other comment would be that if, do we have to close the library at all? I mean, could you split the training? You know, if you're trying to retrain and you're already having 2 people short, is there the possibility just to not close the library and split the training into 2 groups so that one group could get the training while the other group kept the library open, so to speak? And I understand
Not if they're trying to build unity.
Okay, well, I
just
can
answer your
understand
question,
that.
though. I mean, that's fine. I know we are gonna be shut for 2 days, and, oh gosh, the first part of your question was, can we have this another time? Was that it? The
Right,
first part?
it was so that we're
Okay.
not closed 2 days in the same week.
Yeah, we did poll everybody on the staff, and we have people going on vacation. For instance, Johnny will be gone the following week, and some other people. It was really the best day. It was the only day that everybody could come at the same time. And it's not exactly training per se, we wanted to just have a lot of discussion and come up with some ideas and other things that I haven't.
It
sorry,
is-
what? So summer reading, a little bit of, update on
It
that.
is posted on the library website as being closed.
I stuck that up there because the Google Calendar does not automatically update, but I guess I
Okay.
updated. So, yeah, it's, I really believe this is an important investment.
Well, I
really do.
appreciate you
Yeah,
actually
I do.
asking, because,
I know it didn't always happen.
well,
Yeah.
it's not didn't always happen, it rarely would be generous. And per the bylaws and policies, this board with the backing of the city council does set the policies for the library. So I do appreciate you coming and asking, and if you have determined that's the best day to do it, then I don't really have any objection.
Okay,
You know, I think
that's
it's, I mean, but I'm one person.
You're moving and I second.
All right, and actually, you don't get to vote on this. This affects your spouse.
No, it doesn't. I'm one of the people who can't come.
But it's still,
Well, you know, I
think it's gonna pass.
I will address that in my comments. I
Okay.
have contacted the state of Oregon.
all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
I abstain.
And if we want to meet up afterwards and figure out what we're going to bring in for them at 10.
Okay,
then
so
we'll do that. Okay.
would you like, so like lunchtime, have the board there?
I just
If
thought
that's
if
what
we
you
could
wanna
bring
do.
things in when they start at 10, we can say hi, and it's really we're glad to meet you, and have a lovely lunch, and we leave. And if there's another time that we want to get together with the staff, at some point there will be some nice weather, we can always do a picnic or something. Geez, we should have done it last Saturday when there were 8 million and 2 people at the skate park. But we're okay with that. So, I had a couple miscellaneous things, I guess. Last time I was at city council, I appreciated that they asked us to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. And I thought that was a fine thing. We just need to have flags. And we don't have any, do we? I think we should have an American flag and an Oregon flag. Is there a consensus on that, or do we?
Where are you talking
I was
about?
thinking of having them in here.
Oh, You weren't talking about flagpoles out in front?
No, in here, a stationary flag in here.
Would you guys all go outside and see?
Do we need a
Can we
consensus or
table
you
that?
want to vote?
I'm not really into flags at all.
Okay. I move that we purchase a United States flag and a state of Oregon flag. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Suzanne, are you not an aye?
Aye.
Marilyn, you're not?
No.
All right.
No.
All right.
You're
Motion
talking about
passes
flags
3-2.
for in here?
What?
You're talking about flags in here?
Yes. This is a meeting
I
room.
really don't
Well,
see
it's
what
okay.
that-
Motion's already passed.
Yeah.
So. And you missed something?
You missed the discussion part of it, but,
Okay, let's discuss it.
well, I guess my point would be that in times of fiscal austerity, that, I don't think there's anybody here that's opposed to the United States flag or the state of Oregon flag, but in times of, we've talked about things that we can't afford already this evening, and I don't, would you propose asking the foundation for that money, or?
No, I could contact the Veterans of Foreign War. You can also write your congressman and senator and ask to have a flag that's been flown
Great.
over,
That'd be great.
over the Capitol. So
Fabulous.
there are reasons to be able to get them.
Great.
Okay. Now I have an interesting one. Last week, or about the week before, I thought I was going to witness a Survivor show right out in the parking lot. Two of those humongous pickups wanted to go in opposite directions. Had no idea how they were going to get around each other. They were kind of head to head, and they were both so big. Those are such big vehicles. One driver couldn't back up because there was another car behind her, and the other one finally backed up and kind of squiggled out of the way, but it was interesting. I'm wondering if we might do well to have an entrance sign that came in one way and an exit sign, so everybody came in the same direction, left in the same direction, and see if we can get the parking lot restriped for angled parking. And have you ever been known to see this situation?
I think it's a good idea. Do we need to put it in writing? I suppose we do if we want people to enter on one side and exit on the other.
I think that would be a lovely thing for the city. Right,
enter, and you tap it on the pole.
Well, I'd like to have the freedom of entering either one according to traffic. And since we've been open, people are not used to doing that. And then, after you've been here for a couple hours and then you leave and then you have to remember which one is the exit. I don't see any big problem with parking as it is, except there's more and more cars parking here.
I move to establish entrance and exit places with signs.
Well, how can we enforce that? Would it be hard to enforce that?
I don't think so, especially with the angled parking.
I mean, the in and out.
I don't see that we need to have anybody out. I mean, they can read entrance and exit. They're coming to the library. They know how to read signs.
Well, remember what happened with the last signage problem.
I don't know what that was. What was it?
What kind of a sign and where it would be and what the design and how
Entrance
attractive
and
and how
exit
ugly.
signs are too crucial, I guess. So, if you don't wish to pursue it, and let things go on the way it is. I believe I've made a motion, has it not been seconded? Motion dies for lack of a second. Erlene, do you have any comments this evening as we wind things up?
No.
Janet?
Yes, I want to pat Craig on the back for all the work he did for the budget. And I think the next time we lay down a budget, we need to really start early.
Oh, yes.
And we need to do some really fine tuning.
I look at consequences.
Suzanne?
I'd also like to thank Craig for his work, and I see the budget as a work in progress that we'll continue to be working on throughout the year. And I'd like to thank Michelle for stepping into this role. You know, well, we really needed you, and we are all looking forward to having a very great library. So thank you so much.
I wanted to say that I did call the Ethics Board, State of Oregon, regarding conflict of interest. I'm kind of curious where and how you got that information that, you know, that you brought it up 2 meetings in a row that I should not vote on things. You know, did somebody prompt you on that, or I'm just kind of curious? But regardless, I did call them, and what they told me is as long as my wife is part of a group, and I explained that it was a group of 15 employees, as long as she is part of that group and that the decisions that we make are uniform for that group and do not either add or detract, as in give a raise or take money away, add hours, take hours away, as long as it's done in a uniform fashion and is not single out any individuals within that group, that I do not need to declare a conflict of interest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Greg, thank you for your work on the budget. You may have an alternate life as an accountant. You're good with numbers. I have all the comments I've made already have been made, and thank you very much for coming in. And Michelle, thank you so much for stepping in so rapidly. And it's going to be a steep learning curve, and I hope you get the chance to enjoy all the new things you are learning.
We have a motion to adjourn. You have to have a motion to adjourn.
I think we just clear them. We're adjourned.
We're adjourned.
So I'm wondering if you just took my phone and went, listen, what?
I thought as in the car, if you'd like to